Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the hidden blueprints that make our digital world tick. From this simplest app on your phone, all the way up to the biggest corporations, everything, and I mean everything, runs on some kind of plan. So let's dive in and see how it all really connects.
Really think about that for a second. You tap a single button on your phone, and this whole complex chain of events just kicks into gear. It's happening across totally separate systems. So how in the world does your order from your app just magically show up on the restaurant's kitchen screen, and then poof, ping a driver's phone with your exact address?
Well, that's the big secret, isn't it? It feels like magic, but it's not. It's architecture. It's the result of really careful, intentional design, a set of blueprints that lets all these different pieces of technology speak the same language and work together. So what we're going to do is go on a little journey. We're going to start small and zoom out from the smallest point of connection all the way to the master plan for a huge digital organization. We'll start with what you can think of as a single doorway, and then we'll build our way up to the blueprint for an entire digital city.
Okay, so our journey starts with the most fundamental, most important building block of this whole connected world, the API.
So what even is an API? The simplest way to think about it is as a messenger. It's basically a set of rules that allows one piece of software to talk to another. It's how they ask for and exchange information in a really structured, predictable way. You know, when your weather app shows you the forecast, it's using an API to ask a big weather service for that specific data. That's it. And, just like you have different kinds of doors, you've got different kinds of APIs. For the longest time, the standard was something called REST. Imagine asking a librarian for info on a topic, and they just hand you the entire encyclopedia. You get everything, whether you need it or not. But then GraphQL came along. With GraphQL, it's like asking for a specific sentence on a specific page. It lets an app ask for only the data it needs, which is an absolute game changer for efficiency. So let's think of it like a really organized post office. The endpoints, those are the specific PO boxes where the messages get sent. The requests and responses are the letters and packages themselves. The data model is the standard format for addresses, making sure everyone writes them the same way so nothing gets lost. And authentication, well, that's the key that proves you're actually allowed to open the box. You need all of these pieces working together perfectly, or the whole system just falls apart.
All right, so that's one doorway, one API. But what happens when an organization has thousands of these doorways, all connecting hundreds of different systems? Well, things get complicated, really fast.
Yeah, you get something that looks a lot like this. A total mess. Every single one of those lines is a connection, and every connection is a potential point of failure. Without some kind of master plan, you just end up with this tangled web where it's almost impossible to figure out how anything works, let alone trying to change or improve it. And believe me, this isn't just a theoretical problem. This quote right here shows you it's a real-world headache. We're talking about massive companies getting so overwhelmed by this complexity that they just give up. They throw out their fancy, expensive tools and go back to basics, literally making diagrams in PowerPoint. And you gotta ask, why? Because without a clear, high-level plan, trying to manage that digital chaos is just an absolute nightmare. So if APIs are the doorways and all those interconnected systems are the buildings, how do you stop it from turning into total digital chaos? Simple. You need a city plan. And this is exactly where enterprise architecture comes in. Enterprise architecture, or EA for short, is the whole discipline of creating that master blueprint. It's all about stepping back and asking the big, tough questions. Like, does our technology actually help us do what we want to do as a business? Is it built to last, or is it just a digital house of cards waiting to fall over? EA is what helps you answer those questions with a confident yes. And the city planning metaphor is a fantastic way to visualize it. Enterprise architects literally map out an organization's systems like a city. So at the very top level, you have zones. These are your major business functions like finance or HR. Then inside a zone, you have districts, like, say, payroll inside of HR. And finally, you get down to the individual blocks, which are the actual applications, like the software that processes the payroll. Okay, but to create these huge, complex city plans, architects can't just be doodling random boxes and lines on a napkin. They need a standardized, universal language that everyone understands. Right, think about a real-world blueprint for a house. You see a certain symbol and you know, that's a door. You see another, that's an electrical outlet. Every builder on the planet understands it. The digital world needs the exact same thing.
a common set of symbols and rules so that everyone is reading the map the same way.
And in the world of enterprise architecture, that language is ArchiMate. It's an open, independent standard. This palette of symbols you see here is basically the architect's toolkit. It gives them everything they need to describe, analyze, and visualize all the relationships within a business in a way that's totally clear and unambiguous.
So let's break down this visual grammar a little. On the left, you've got the nouns, the actual things. That little stick figure represents a person, a business actor. The rectangle is an application component. These are the pieces that make up the enterprise. Then on the right, you have the verbs, the lines that connect everything. They show how all the nouns interact. Does one system serve another one? Does a business process trigger a piece of software? This is how you map the living, breathing dynamics of the whole organization. Now, obviously, architects aren't drawing these incredibly complex diagrams by hand. They use specialized software to apply the ArchiMate language and actually build out these digital city plans.
A really popular place to start is a free open-source tool called Archie. When you first open it up, this is what you see, a clean blank canvas. This is where the architect starts to lay down the first foundations, the first zones and districts of their digital city.
But it's not always about super rigid, formal diagrams, at least not at first. Tools like Archi have something called a sketch view, which is meant to feel like a brainstorming session. It lets architects and business leaders get together and just throw ideas around, using digital sticky notes to map things out quickly without getting bogged down in the formal rules just yet. And then from there, those rough, informal sketches get refined into these formal, structured blueprints. This diagram here, for example, is modeling a business process, handle claim, and it shows every single step, every system interaction, every person involved. This is the detailed plan you can actually use for serious analysis and planning.
And Archi is just the beginning. There is a whole ecosystem of these tools out there. You've got heavy-duty platforms like Spark's Enterprise Architect that can do pretty much everything. And then you have these massive, enterprise-grade cloud solutions like PlanView and Linux, which are built to manage the entire technology portfolio for the biggest companies in the world.
So, we've made the journey. We went from a single API doorway all the way up to the master plan for an entire digital city. So let's wrap this up by looking at the core principles that apply to good architecture, no matter what scale you're working at. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're designing one tiny API or the architecture for a Fortune 500 company. These 4 principles are absolutely non-negotiable. You need versioning so you can change and grow without breaking everything. You need security because it's the foundation of all trust. You need documentation so other people can actually understand and use your blueprint. And you need monitoring to make sure your beautiful plan actually works in the real world. These are the pillars. And that really leaves us with one final, and I think crucial question to think about. Every single organization has a digital architecture. That's a fact. The only question is whether it was built on purpose or if it just happened by accident. Thanks for tuning in.